Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the I.M.A.G.E TV show. This is a wonderful opportunity for all of you who are watching to take advantage of this content. My name is Bobby Pate, and I'm from Des Moines, Iowa. I served 11 consecutive years in prison for nonviolent drug convictions, possession with intent to deliver crack cocaine. I was able to utilize that time to my advantage. I worked hard, I educated myself, and I started helping those right around me, thanks to the good Lord above. We want to remind you to continue to keep watching the I.M.A.G.E TV show. Whenever you see me live on this screen, you know that you're in for an intelligent and wonderful conversation and journey. And I'm asking for your help in the fight against recidivism. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another special edition on the I.M.A.G.E TV podcast, PTWWN. And those of you joining us by YouTube, we want to say thank you. You're in for another wonderful episode. First of all, I would like to dedicate this episode and the rest of my episodes to my lovely grandmother who passed away at 100 years of age, Miss Elizabeth Naylor. My grandmother was my heart, and when she passed away, that took a lot of life out of me. It was just recent, so it's one of those things that God is still continuously working with me through. And Brother Kip Hayes, I want to say thank you for being on our show. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this man has a very unique story. We're in Gainesville, Florida right now, and Kip Hayes was one of the first individuals that I've met out here in Gainesville, Florida. He's kind of opened up the city to me. He's introduced me to a whole lot of people. Everyone knows about the I.M.A.G.E TV podcast. I.M.A.G.E stands for Inmate Movement Against Gang Evolution. And we are a faith-based reentry program. Kip, it is a pleasure to have you on the I.M.A.G.E TV podcast.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure for me to be here.
Now, Kip, you've got a wonderful story. Please let it roll, my friend.
Well, we could start with growing up. We could start with where I was to where I am now. How about that?
That sounds good.
Growing up in Gainesville and being a stranger because we lived in Miami most of the time. So we was like splitting duty between Miami and Gainesville. We would come to Gainesville during the summers. But, I was a pretty active kid. I liked sports and stuff like everybody else. But, my childhood was a little toxic, to say the least. So I wanted to be grown as fast as I could. And so I think by the time I was 13 years old, I was already out in the streets, already doing my thing, already whatever I could do to earn money, not to go back home. By the time I was 14, I was in the 9th grade. I was already a dad in the 9th grade. 9th grade, I was already a dad. 10th grade, got a kid on the way. So I hit the streets, and back then the profession of choice was pharmaceutical sales, street pharmaceutical sales, to say the least. And I hit the ground running. I was running for businessmen, pimps, whatever I could do to earn some money. I learned the buy, sell, trade game out in the streets being an entrepreneur because everything has value. So I learned the buy, sell, trade game out in the streets, bringing in dope, selling dope, running up the cars for a little while, and then got to the point to where the cars would come to me.
That's one of the things that me and you both had in common was the fact that we both were incarcerated and we both learned from our mistake. And now we're in the community making a difference, making a change. You've been out here in Gainesville, Florida, working with the kids.
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us just a little bit about, first of all, your time that you spent in prison and how that changed your life and made you kind of the businessman and the person that you are today?
Yeah, I got a 7-year sentence. I did 4.5 years on the 7-year sentence. Being in prison wasn't for me. There ain't no women in there. And I don't count the generic women as women. So wasn't no women in there. That's number one. So that wasn't for me. Wasn't no money in there. That's number two, right? So I wanted to get in there and get out of there. But what I learned was who I hung out with while I was locked up. I hung out with the Italians. I didn't go into the TV room. I didn't go in the weight pile. I didn't get into telephone fights and stuff like that. I hung out with the Italians. I learned how to play pinochle because that was their game of choice. And I learned that they weren't waiting on the mail to come every day. They were getting mail. They were getting the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, and the USA Today newspapers in there. And they was watching money. Where everybody else was watching TV, watching weight rooms, watching who could do the most push-ups. I was hanging out with them. And they taught me some valuable things. That was like in college while I was in there, right? And so it helped me to understand money. So when I come out, because my intentions were to come out and do the same thing again, but just do it better. That was my intentions. I was going to be 28 years old when I got out. I went in at 24. Getting out at 28, I'm still young. I'm going to blow the streets back up again in a different way though, right? Because now you got gambling, you got prostitution, you got drugs, you got more options. That's what I learned, right? That's what But when I came home to nothing, because everything was gone when I got home, I actually had to live back home with my mom and use her car to look for a job. And my oldest son, I never forget it. I was at the halfway house. I come home, came to visit, and I saw him for a little while. He said, "Hey man, where you going?" I said, "I'm going to get this money." He said, "Dad, why don't you just spend some time with us?" And it was him and his brother Tony, and that did it for me. That made everything click. Nah, man, that time has passed. One thing about a hustler, if you're a hustler, you can hustle in any environment, right? Right. And any product is worth money. Right. Legal products as well.
Oftentimes, a lot of people don't realize that. That's a very, very good point you make, because this is one of the things that I like to teach most of the people that were selling drugs. They have a natural sales hustle, right? That they've been able to craft, right? In their selling drugs.
If they were good at it.
If they were good at it.
If they were good at it. Everybody not good at it.
That's right.
Just because you do something for a long time, don't mean you're good at it.
Right.
Yeah.
And but I mean, utilizing your natural talents that you have. I personally think that I was a good salesman. When I was selling drugs, it was kind of like a game. You know, I wanted to go out there and make all the money that I could and then give back to the people. And I felt like
Robin Hood.
Yeah, I felt like that was justifiable.
Right, because you're giving it back.
Right.
You're buying a conscience.
Right.
Right.
But the reality is that it was wrong, right?
The same ones you're giving it back to you.
Right. So you got to pay a consequence for the wrongs that you do in this world.
Yeah.
And so the transformation that me and you are both on in this page that we're walking on, it's encouraging to see other community leaders such as yourself that are out here helping people and giving back. Right. I work currently in an institution with guys who are given second and third chances in a treatment facility. Mm-hmm. And so these men are taking drug tests. They're, going to work. They're walking around in a building in an area close together, and they're going through the process. And so I like to reward these guys. These are men at Bridges of Iowa. It's a program back home, and it's a wonderful program because you see people who are sober, whose their lives were deterred on drugs and alcohol real bad. I mean, just strung out on meth, lost everything, and now they're trying to get all that back, and they're getting it back. Right. And so this is an experience for me to be working with this, but it takes me back to when I was in prison, and you have to deal with staff, you have to deal with counselors, right. You have to deal with the people who are in authority over you, right? And of course, when you're on the other side of that, it always feels like it's wrong, like you're the victim, and you're around guys who are always talking about how they're really innocent or not confessing to what they did wrong and
Right.
playing the victim role most of the time.
Right. Not taking accountability.
Not taking accountability.
Yeah, right.
So we've been trying to change that,
Yeah.
and I just see a different world from this job that I work now, and so from you being out here in an authority position over these kids, how is that? I mean, what tools did you use to be successful with these kids?
Oh, the best tool in the world is honesty.
Honesty.
The kids know if you're trying to run a game on them, especially these kids today. Honesty and transparency. The kids I deal with know everything about me that I'm saying. So when they hear this, and their parents hear this, they already know Mr. Kip. They know what Mr. Kip went through to get where he is. They know what Mr. Kip go through to keep what he got, and they know I have plans to do even better things. Right now, I'm steady trying to evolve, never trying to revolve. It's all about evolution. It's all about the next day doing something bigger and better, and doing it better than you did the day before. So I'm into investing right now very heavily. I took some time off to focus on me, right, and to get my personal life in order, because I've been about everybody else all my life. So now I'm taking time to get my finances to a point to where banks will call me and see if I need anything, versus me having to walk around here with an elevator pitch to everybody I go to and need this. I'm putting myself in a position to where that 20 years from now, everybody that's in my life will be able to do exactly what I'm doing without having to do the constant day-to-day grind.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned in to the I.M.A.G.E TV podcast, PTWWN, Preach the Word, Worldwide TV Network, YouTube, the I.M.A.G.E TV podcast. We want to say thank you for tuning in. For those of you joining us right now on PTWWN, for those of you joining us on the podcast, we want to tell you to subscribe on YouTube. Continue to hit that subscribe button and get other people involved. This is great re-entry talk. We've got Kip Hayes on the I.M.A.G.E TV podcast, and Kip lives here in Gainesville, Florida. He works with the kids. He is a part of the solution when it comes to recidivism. This is a man that went to prison. He learned his lesson. He got out and he made a difference in his community and is continuously making a difference in his community. Now, Kip, one of the things that I really admire about you is your business aspect, entrepreneuring aspect. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about what it took to get to the business side of your life, and how hard is that for most people when particularly coming out of incarceration or overcoming obstacles in life?
The business part started when you started your paper route, when you started the fruit stand sales or the garage sales. It's always been there. Anybody that hustles or understands the value of something, they can do buy, sell, and trade. Buy, sell, and trade is the third oldest profession in the world, right? So if you a hustler, you shouldn't put yourself in a position to just hustle one product, right? I was at the time when I didn't understand commodities, right, and value of precious metals, real estate, minerals, stocks, bonds. I didn't know the other world existed, but once I found out the other world exists, that you can do this legal with the same energy, right? You can buy a lot, an empty lot, a vacant lot. You can buy a short sale, a foreclosure, a tax deed, right? You can build on that lot. You go you go find out what the codes are. What can you do with this property? You can buy precious metals. I still buy vintage watches, vintage guitars. I still do that right now today. Trading cards. I still buy, sell, and trade. So if you got a hustle in you, you just have to find out, get in your lane, and then expand. You got to be around people that are evolving as well. That's where the networking comes in. Yeah. Kids in Positive Places is just a part of evolution for me.
Yes.
It's making sure that kids understand that they can be in a positive place, but you have to find out you have to be in a positive environment. And you can create your own environment. You don't need a crew. You don't need a bunch of people to create you. All you need is you and a positive attitude. You got that. You can do anything you want to do whenever you get ready. So the investing comes from back in the days in the streets. It was the same thing. It was a different product. Now it's land. It's flip houses, foreclosures, short sales, tax deeds, and things like that. I got a great networking resources. Great networking resources. Everybody earns, so nobody's greedy. Everybody I deal with earns. We don't use the term making money. Only Fort Knox make money.
Okay.
We use the term earns. I learned that from the Italians, right? The guys I was hanging out with. They call them earners. Nobody makes money, but the Mint, the Fort Knox, people at the Treasury Department, they make money. You're not gonna make any money. You can earn.
Right.
If you're an earner, you're gonna keep earning, and you're gonna earn before the bills are due, right? So you want to live. I'll give you one piece of advice that I got from a guy. He asked me one time when I thought I was doing really well. Mm-hmm. He said, "Man," he said, "You think you're doing really well?" I said, "I'm doing really well," and I was proud of myself. And I think I was about 38, right? I had my pawn shop, going. I'm doing my thing, earning about $200 a year, whatever the case may be. He says, "Can you take a year off and live the same lifestyle?" I said, "What?" He said, "Can you take a year off from work and live the same lifestyle you living right now?" I said, "I don't think." He said, "Hey, man, you don't have no money."
Speaking of that, this made me think. So when I was selling drugs and you were selling drugs, it was a major, major difference. Okay, I was selling drugs and I maybe had some cars, some money, but it was nothing compared to what you was doing. The assets, and this isn't to glorify war stories, but I believe you were in the millions of dollars. Is that correct?
It could be correct.
Okay. All right. I mean that just kind of blows me. It blows me away because your business mind, it goes so far, and in my mind, I'm trying to get it to excel and be extended like that, and I'm admired by that. I mean, when I just hear about the way that you had businesses and operations, and I mean, what made you decide to? I mean, where did you get that kind of mindset from?
I was always creative, but like I say, even back then, the networking group, right? I saw other people with things that I wanted, right? And I would always ask. I think I remember Magic Johnson when he played for Michigan State. Magic Johnson was playing, and he used to go to the games, and he saw the people sitting on the front row were paying hundreds of $1,000s for a seat. And Magic said, "I want to know how they got to be able to pay for a $100,000 seat," And I always wanted to know how this guy owned a house, how this guy owned a business, how this guy ran this and that. So by the time I was 19 when I bought my first Mercedes. I was 19, maybe 20. I bought my first Mercedes. It was $56,000 cash. It was a 560 SEL. And I bought it from a guy who's still selling Mercedes right now today for the dealership. And so it's funny when I run into him. But the same guy, this other guy that I know was selling real estate, buying and selling real estate, he said, "Man, you can buy homes with that kind of money." So I learned then at an early age that the money was worth more if you invested in something that appreciated versus something that depreciated. So I always felt like if I could figure that out, get that formula down, and right when I was getting really good at it, here they come to get me, Yeah. And so I was like, "Oh man, I ain't gonna never be able to do this again," right? But the hustle was still in me. The hustle never goes away. The hustle in me right now, I'm just as hungry now to be successful, healthy, and wealthy as I was 30 years ago, right? Yeah. And I feel like with the opportunities that this country presents, which is it's probably one of the greatest countries, if not the greatest country in the world, for entrepreneurs and opportunities. You just have to make sure that your conscience can allow you to do what you need to do to get to a certain point. Because everybody's not meant to go with you.
Sure.
Right?
Now, I want to switch topics just a little bit because I want to make sure that I let the people out there know back home in Des Moines, Iowa, we have with the I.M.A.G.E show a talent show through the I.M.A.G.E program, a yearly talent show, and we're coming up on our 7th annual talent show, as me and you have spoke before about having that talent show out here in Gainesville, Florida.
Right.
And so we have a lot of people that are getting excited. I've been telling a lot of our first place winners and people that have been involved in the show and in the talent show about this being out here. And as we continue to move and make this happen, I want to first of all say thank you for opening the doors for me out here in this part of Florida. The people that you have introduced me to already. We've only known each other for a little over a couple months, and you've already been introducing me to people that have been leading to different things. And so as we continue to move throughout the preparation for this talent show coming up in the summertime, I just want to make sure that the people had a familiarity with this conversation and with you, because you are the one who helped make this happen and is helped making this happen. So, for other people out there that are looking for opportunity that may not be from Florida, do you always invite everybody, or is it just a selective few?
I used to think that I could save the world. I can't save the world. Used to think I could save everybody. Can't save everybody, because you can't save everybody from themselves. I'll invite anybody because everybody's not going to come. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can invite everybody. You can have a town hall. You can invite everybody to a town hall meeting and say you're giving away the 6 lottery numbers for next Saturday. Everybody's still not going to come.
Right.
People going to come that want to come you got 2 kinds of people. You got producers and you have consumers. The producers going to come because it presents an opportunity. The consumer's going to come because somebody might be giving something away. I want to be one of the producers.
Let me ask, what is your next personal project that you're working on out here?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. I have a building that we're renovating right now. We're going to turn it into a kitchen in East Gainesville. And we're going to also turn that same property into a deli in East Gainesville. That's the closest, the soonest, nearest project that I'm working on that's happening right now. We're renovating that building right now. We're actually going to get some help from the city for certain things, and we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Met with the city manager. She is awesome. Her staff is awesome. And that's what I'm doing right now. So that should be done in the next 90 days. And I have 6 other projects waiting, but I'm doing one at a time now. I'm not trying to do everything at one time. So that's the project I'm working on right now. It's in Duval Heights.
Okay. Well, man,
Booker T. Washington Heights.
Booker T. Washington Heights.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to be out here again. I'm excited to be out. I'm a little down just because of my grandmother just passing, and that just
on that, man.
Yeah, it rotates through my head and my mind so much. When my mother passed away back in 1996, my grandmother was there for me.
Yeah.
She was. There were other people that were there for me. Don't get me wrong, but my grandmother was the one that I had nowhere to turn when my mom died.
Right.
That was like one of the biggest absences, one of the biggest things that I've ever went through in my life.
Right.
And I remember my grandmother being the one really letting me know that it was going to be all right. And she showed me and she let me know that. I was only 23 at that time.
Right.
And I was lost. And
right.
That lady stepped up to the plate when I was a little baby and made sure that, she was there to do certain things that, it just really, really, even though she was 100 years old and it's a celebration of life.
A loss is still a loss.
Man.
When you care, you still care.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people live 100 years, man, and don't do nothing for nobody.
Yeah.
So, Yeah, I can understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. But she doesn't want any sympathy. She doesn't want me to look for any sympathy. So, I'm being strong, man. You guys, all you brothers out here have helped me, get through that. Even, the guests at Bridges of Iowa where I work, they was
come out there.
Yeah, you got to come out there.
I got to come out there.
You got to come out there and be a guest speaker. You come in there.
I want to come to work.
You got to meet these. You got to meet some of the people out there, man, that are trying. These people that are really trying to change their lives, and you see these little obstacles. And sometimes, if you can just say a few words of your past experience, it makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be nowhere near as strong as I am now, or as focused, if it wasn't for my kids. Okay. I have the greatest kids. My kids are my support team.
Okay.
I mean, I like I say, my oldest son, he said something to me that made me change the whole course, my narrative, where I was going. I was going right back out there. This was 30-something years ago, right? My youngest daughter, my oldest daughters, they make sure that I'm okay, and I stay focused. My sons are very successful. They're very independent, so they keep, we have a pretty strong that's my foundation, really, to be honest with you. If I have to give credit to any individual, I mean, it's some people out there that I look up to, like Bob Mitchell and, Chad Perlman, Senator Keith Perry, guys who I know personally that have always evolved. No matter what the economy was, no matter what the situation was, they always evolve.
Yes. And we talk about networking. We talk about support.
Yeah.
Support is huge in helping people overcome obstacles.
Yeah.
I always go back to my high school coach and his family, and it was, you talk about support. I mean, they actually helped me change my life, and they showed me what life was on the other side of things. Yeah. And they did it with love, and they're not black. These are white people that did that, and didn't look at color.
Yeah.
And so that there kind of paved the way for me the rest of my life.
Yeah.
To not be racist at all.
I understand what you're saying. But the key word was love.
Yeah.
Love has no color.
Right.
Right? Love is love. If it's love, it has no color, no religion, no sex, no nationality. Love is love, and God is love, right?
That's right.
So it's unconditional.
That's right.
We're going to see that you get where you need to go and with your resources, because a white family helped me out, to be for sure. So I've always been diverse when it came to looking at people because of what color they are, where they come from. I ain't no better than nobody else, man. I took advantage of some opportunities that came my way that somebody else didn't take advantage of.
So even when I get on these topics through the I.M.A.G.E program, and we talk about certain things like how police were slave catchers and started off as slave catchers.
Right.
Some of these issues of history are so strong and stringent and offensive, and people have a hard time taking it, and it often turns black people, it makes them become more aggressive, and when they start thinking about that, and then it'll make white people feel uncomfortable, because then they're thinking that now they feel bad of something that they didn't have anything to do with personally, and it's like, here we are. But anyway, that's another whole subject in itself. We are about out of time, Kip, and I want to just really, again, tell you thank you. I also want to tell the people out there thank you that have supported the I.M.A.G.E program, the I.M.A.G.E TV podcast. Brian Lee and Marianne Lee and Doc's Lounge is a family back home in Des Moines, Iowa. They have been very, very supportive, and I want to say thank you. They supported this particular podcast out here.
I'm going to say thank you to them too then.
That's right.
Thank you.
And then you have Westchester Church. This is a church that I recently became a member of, and there has been supporters there. Lee and the Lee family, Cindy and George Lee, they have been very supportive. And then there's Steve, another man there that I cannot ever leave out, from Westchester Church. These are people, and believe it or not, these are white people now that come in.
When you say Iowa, right?
It's Iowa.
Well, I'm pretty sure they are.
But they got the fear of God in them.
Right.
And they love people.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with what you can do for them. It's all about the God that's in their heart.
Unconditional.
That's
God.
man.
God is love. I'm going to shout out to the pawn shop crew real quick. I know we only got I'm going to shout out to Vernell, Elo, Yance, Carlos Smith, Coon Dog, and and Otis Howard. That was the pawn shop crew.
All right.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
And I also want to send just a special continuance shout out to those men and women at Bridges of Iowa program in Des Moines, Iowa. Continue to keep fighting. Continue to keep going through the process. Continue to keep staying sober. Continue to keep on pushing toward graduation, because that is the goal. A lot of those guests in there are compressed. They're trying to fight, and they're fighting evil battles and all these evil temptations and old stuff. So we continue to keep lifting you up in prayer, and we're going to continue to fight for success. For those of you joining us on PTWWN, thank you very much. I.M.A.G.E TV podcast, I.M.A.G.E Nation, we love you. We're in Gainesville, Florida. It's Gator Nation, and we're going to watch the Florida Gators take on the Oklahoma Sooners tomorrow.
Okay. Go Gators.
Go Gators. Thank you all for tuning in. Until next time, stay tuned.
Peace out.
So you think you're bad with your rap? Well, I'll tell ya, Pilgrim, I started the crap. When you were in diapers and wetting the sheets, I was at the Ponderosa rapping.